Hello, so our lesson today is going to be on simplifying algebraic expressions by combining like terms and using the distributive property. So the first few examples I'm going to go over are going to show you how to use the distributive property. So basically this is what a problem that would look like if you needed to use the distributive property. You'd have a number on the outside of the parentheses, and basically what you need to do is you need to multiply this number on the outside by both of the terms on the inside. So you're multiplying, so you would do 3 times x, which is 3x, and then you would do 3 times 5, which is 15. So that is our final answer. A lot of students want to add those two numbers together, 3 plus 15 is 18, and make it 18x, but that is not what you do. This is actually, these are not like terms because this the 3 has an x and the 15 is just a constant term, so you just leave it alone and that is your final answer. Now the next problem we're going to look at is number 6, and so now you can see that the number is on the right side of the parentheses, but that's okay. We can still distribute that number right into the parentheses. So we would do 6 times x, which is 6x, and then we would do 6 times 2, which is 12. And that is our final answer. Okay, so this next one, we are distributing a negative into the parentheses. So what I do when I have a negative on the outside is I circle it to remind myself that it is a negative. And I'm going to distribute that negative into the parentheses. So I'm going to do negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x. And then I'm doing negative 2 times positive 9. So this is going to become negative because negative times a positive is a negative. And 2 times 9 is 18. And that is our final answer. Okay, now we have a negative 1. It's on the right side. I'm going to circle that negative, and I'm going to distribute it into the parentheses. So I'm going to multiply both those terms inside the parentheses by negative 1. So negative 1 times x is negative 1x. And then negative 1 times positive 10 is negative 10. So negative 1x can also be written as negative x. So that is our final answer. Okay, so we have a 4 on the outside. We're going to distribute that 4 into the parentheses. I always draw the arrows to remind myself to multiply by both terms because sometimes students forget to multiply by both terms and they just do the first term. So 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. And that is our final answer. Okay, one more with the distributive and then we're going to move on to combining like terms. So we have negative 3. So I circled my negative. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And then I'm multiplying negative 3 times negative 1. So negative times a negative is going to be positive. So it's 3 times 1 is 3. And that is my final answer. Okay, so now we're going to move down the worksheet to number 17. Where we are combining like terms. Oops, we're missing an x here. Okay, so we have 8x plus negative 12x. So we can combine these because you can see they both have an x. So all we have to do is add the coefficients. So the coefficient is the number in front of the variable. So 8 plus negative 12. So here we go again. We got a negative and a positive. Do we have more negatives or more positives? Right, we have more negatives because we have more negative 12. So our answer here is going to be negative, and then we subtract. So 12 minus 8 is 4x, and that is our final answer. Okay, here's another example where we have a positive and a negative. So we have 17x plus negative 9x. So we can combine these two because they both have the same variable, x. So we have more positives than we do negatives because we have 17 positives and 9 negatives. So our answer here is going to be positive. And then we do 17 minus 9 is 8x. And that is our final answer. Okay, so number 19. So we have 15x minus x. So we can do this because they're both have the same variable term. So 15x, and I take away, so this is actually 1x, right? So 15 minus 1 is 14x, and that is your final answer. Okay, so now if we look here, we have to figure out which terms are like terms. So if we look at this 3, we have another constant term over here. So I'm going to just circle those. So we know we need to combine those terms. So 3 plus 1 is 4, and then we're just left with 6x plus 6x. And that is our final answer. Okay, the next one, we need to look at the variable part of the term. So we have to see which are like terms. So we have 8x, and then we have plus 2x. So 8x plus 2x is 10x. And then we're just left with plus 5. And that would be our final answer. Okay, so here's the last problem. So this is actually using both rules. So we're going to use combining like terms and the distributive property. So remember, in order of operations, we always want to get rid of those parentheses first. So we want to do our distributive property first to get rid of the parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to do 2x plus 8 plus 7x. So that's the distributive property. Now I'm going to combine my like terms. So these are my like terms because they both have x's. 2x plus 7x is 9x, and then I'm left with plus 8. And that is how you simplify algebraic expressions by combining like terms